Journal continues.
At the table now, a gentleman named Andrew Breitbart, who is publisher of something called Breitbart.com. And before we get to the issues that you talk about, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you hope to accomplish.
That's a difficult one to answer. That's why I don't even have business cards, because I don't have a title. I guess I do a lot of new media. I have a website, Breitbart.com, which is a news aggregation source. In all the years I've been on the internet, all I've cared about were the news wires. I figured out that that's where the action is. When you watch CNN and Fox News and somebody breaks in with a story and they act like somebody in that building actually discovered that story and reported on it, it's invariably the Associated Press or Reuters, and I also have Agence France-Presse, the French news wire, and the three of them, in my mindset, keep me up to date in this 24/7 news cycle. So I created that website in 2005 just for the news wires, but the goal was to brand myself. I didn't want to do it in my name, but my father-in-law and my neighbor across the street, Mike Silver, said I was crazy not to do it in my name, and I don't regret it right now. But what I wanted to do was create a news organization from the bottom up, and I realized that the way to do it was with the news wires. And so what I've been doing over the last year is create a series of group blogs. That's the next layer in my plan. So we started one called Big Hollywood. That was the first one, and that was in January of this year. And we launched Big Government on September 10th with the ACORN story. So that's the second of a series of group blogs. The model is to have an editor in charge of that subject that knows that subject. I was a C student in high school, I was a C student in college, and before a big exam that I knew I was going to get a D on, I needed to find the best person in that class who took the best notes, and that's what I'm applying that skill set, finding the best expert on that subject. The editor of Big Hollywood is John Nolte. I called him during the Super Bowl this year. I said, "Hey, John, are you watching the Super Bowl? It's a pretty good game." He goes, "No, I'm watching Sudden Impact." I said, "Good hire." He's 24/7 Hollywood. He understands Hollywood from a center-right perspective. There are a lot of people in Hollywood that are center-right. They're just silent about it because they're fearful of the repercussions. So I wanted to create a website that told the American people, and in fact the world, that it's not just Janeane Garofalo's Hollywood. There's another side to it as well. Big Government was the second one, and we've just this week secured that we're probably going to do about 3 more by the end of the year.
You mentioned ACORN. There's this ACORN headline in the Washington Post. Duo release another video of their meeting with ACORN worker. Latest footage has audio of 2 conservatives, but not of the staff member. You're also quoted in this piece as saying ACORN has lied every step of the way. Bring us up to date on ACORN through your eyes.
Well, James O'Keefe came to me, the filmmaker, having created a set of videos in which he dressed up as, or he established a premise where he was trying to help create a brothel featuring underage prostitutes from El Salvador, ages 13 to 15. He went to a series of ACORN offices to try and get loans and to try and see if ACORN would facilitate this preposterous scenario. And when he showed me these series of videos, I think it would be hard for Eric Boehlert or David Brock at Media Matters, who are critics of this story, if they were legitimate journalists and they saw a series of these videos in which at every single one of them, multiple people often in the videos agreed with the premise of trying to help the pimp and the prostitute establish the prostitution ring with underage girls, from a foreign country, that I would imagine that in a sane universe they would think this is newsworthy. If it were an undercover operation of the NRA in which people presented themselves to be racist and wanted to figure out a way to turn an AK-47 into a automatic rifle, and the NRA said, "This is all you have to do," I would imagine that they would think that that's news. I would, and I would figure out a way to put that out there. But understanding the media the way that I do, I'm a 24/7 news junkie, is I understand that the media has inherent biases. It's not a conspiracy. It just happens to be the truth. It's an organic thing. The type of people who go into journalism want to save the world. I get it, and that they lean to the left. And I had to craft a strategy to get this story out so that it would go above, so it would go past the Media Matters of the world and the Huffington Post of the world, which act as a firewall to protect the media from covering legitimate stories.
Let me jump in and put the phone numbers on the bottom of the screen for Andrew Breitbart of Breitbart.com. He is publisher. Republicans call 202-737-0001. Democrats, your number 737-0002, and Independents 202-628-0205. Our guest graduated from Tulane University in 1991. Where did you grow up?
Los Angeles, West Los Angeles.
What were your, and who were your influences, and how did your way of thinking change over the years, if it did?
My influences were solely comedy when I was growing up. I was a David Letterman addict. My license plate, embarrassingly enough, was late night. I'm shamed by that. I don't think I've ever said that publicly, but certainly people in my past know that. And Dennis Miller. Those were probably my two favorite, the two most important influences in my life. And I was not a political person, but I believe that being a liberal, especially in Los Angeles, especially in Manhattan, New York, the types of places that I grew up spending time in, are default cultural liberal places. And so I considered myself a liberal up until the point I graduated college. And then I had an interesting epiphany.
And what was that? When did it happen? What were the circumstances?
It was the Clarence Thomas hearing. It changed my life. It changed my life.
How so?
And it put the fight in me. I came to the Iran-Contra hearings because I like political theater. I was an American, I was a student, a high school student who took a summer program, a journalism program at American University, but it was all a ruse so I could go to the Iran-Contra hearings. Not because I had any outcome that I wanted. I just wanted to say I was there because I felt gypped that I wasn't able to attend Watergate hearings. So I went to the Iran-Contra hearings. So when I graduated from college, I was waiting tables at a hip restaurant in Venice, California, and after work I would race home to go watch the Thomas hearings. I wanted him to go down based upon the premise that the media set up, that this guy was a serial sexual harasser and basically a monster among women. I remember Barbara Boxer and Patricia Schroeder and a series of women all wearing red standing behind Anita Hill, and I wanted to see Clarence Thomas taken down. By the end of the week, in which I watched no evidence come out, it was mystery evidence. Is that you don't understand what it's like to be a woman in the workplace. But when the worst thing that came out of it was that in all the years that she was with him, going job to job to job, getting raised, getting promoted, the worst thing that he ever said at one point, allegedly, was he said there's a pubic hair on a Coke can. I remember thinking, this is it? And Ted Kennedy and Joe Biden are asking this man whether or not he's rented pornography or knows who Long Dong Silver is. And I did not understand a world. I couldn't understand what Ted Kennedy, of all people with his background, Lothario, Chappaquiddick, kind of a known, carouser, that this guy had the gall to go after Clarence Thomas. I said, what does he know about the NAACP and the media that they're not going to attack him for being a racist, for going after a man who was raised by his grandparents and who was raised by sharecroppers, who was experiencing the epitome of the American dream? And once I saw the paradigm, and that's why I call it the Democrat media complex, he implicitly knew that his political career was safe from the media for attacking a black man on national television.
To the calls and the issues now for Andrew Breitbart, Gaithersburg, Maryland. John, Republican line, thanks for waiting. Hi there.
Hello, Andrew. How you doing?
Hello.
Rush Limbaugh fails to meet my expectations on a daily basis by mistakenly identifying the media as the state-run media. In reality, he should be labeling the Senate and Congress and the President as the government-controlled media. because it's obvious that if Russia's telling the truth every day and the media is telling the 80% of the American people that don't listen to conservative talk radio something completely wrong, then if the media were telling the truth, then we wouldn't have these liberals in government that we have. So isn't the real problem the media? And you seem like a pretty brave guy. You went after ACORN in a pretty good way. Simply put, if we separate information, news, entertainment, and commentary from advertisement, and they have to operate in the true free market system, they will be completely wiped out. Because we've reached a time in the history of our country, Andrew, where we have to decide whether we want to have the free market principles and the constitutional ideas. And if we do, then we're going to have to separate advertisement from information, news, entertainment, and commentary, or we're going to let the media who's controlling Obama, Pelosi, and Reid, they're going to take over our country, and we're going to lose our equal ownership of this country to elitist-controlled socialism.
Got the point? No question, but a comment. Any reaction?
It's a thesis. Regarding Rush Limbaugh, I had a strong feeling that this administration was going to be heading down this path when it first started to attack Rush Limbaugh, right out of the gate. I believe that was in February. And now we find ourselves in October, and they're isolating Fox News. This reminds me of the college campus from whence Barack Obama and much of his minions have come, the politically correct campus that I graduated from. And these type of Stalinist, anti-free speech tactics are familiar to anybody that graduated from a public institution. And to demonize Rush Limbaugh and to use false quotes against him, as CNN did, to label him a racist, which is the worst thing that you can label a person in this country, it's the battle of my life. It's all I care about. I eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff, and I want to defeat anyone that would unfairly malign people. The Sarah Palins, the George Bushes, the Michelle Bachmans, the Joe the Plumbers, the Carrie Prejeans. What do all these people have in common when the full weight of the media goes after these people to malign them, to destroy them? That's the power of the Democrat media complex. I can't think of any other person. A Republican there are two paradigms. They're either evil or they're stupid. Over and over and over and over and over. It's the template that the mainstream media does. It has to end.
We have a Democrat on the line. Kevin from Bethany, Ohio, on with Andrew Breitbart. What do you say?
Yeah, man, I tell you, what I think is, I'm very nervous, so please forgive me for being stuttering a little bit. But when all those names he just named are people who have an agenda against the left cares about people, the right cares about money. Now, you didn't say anything when George Bush was president of the United States and people were being arrested trying to protest outside of any meetings he ever had. People bring guns to Obama's meeting. They didn't get arrested, sir. The right is wrong. The left is right. And you people are so evil, it's unbelievable. You sit there and defend Michelle Bachmann, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly. They're all liars. And you are crazy. I tell you, this country has got me to where I don't like Republicans anymore. I won't associate with them. We're getting into a deep divide in this country because of the lies on the right and the left try to defend itself. Now, you, a C student, obviously. I'm sorry. My hand is shaking. You got me so upset.
Carla, let me jump in and get a response from our guest.
Yes, that's the power of the media, to create that perception that we're evil. I mean, how did I or Ron Silver or Dennis Miller, what is it about we apostates, those who've gone from, there's no reason why a person who grew up in Brentwood, a secular liberal Jew like me, who was bathed in secular liberalism and the left, and the fundamental default belief that liberals are the feeling good people, and the Republicans are the evil people. I grew up with that perception. I grew up being told the people in flyover country are stupid. Why on God's green earth would Dennis Miller or me or any of these other people dare to go from one side to the other? It is an act of conscience. It has hurt my social life. It has hurt familial relations, because on the left, whether it be on a college campus, whether it be in Venezuela, whether it be in the Obama administration, these people cannot abide by people that disagree with them, and they demonize them, and that person that just called trembling is a victim of the Democrat media complex. He has been brainwashed to believe that Michelle Bachmann, who raised 5 children and had 23 foster children, and that Sarah Palin, who lives up in Alaska, is somehow some evil monster, that those projections of the media onto conservatives to make me evil when all I want is the best for this country. What is a motive that I have? Do I want poor people not to eat? I've been accused of that by the Democrat media complex because of going after ACORN.
Atlantic Beach, Florida. Bill, thank you for waiting. You're an independent. What do you have to say this morning? Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me make a whole statement and then ask the man a question. I work at the video store in Savannah where Clarence Thomas every Friday night, like a clock, come in and rented 3 videos. You know, you pointed out Long Dog Silver. He bought that one. He almost wore it out. He rented it so much. But
you're a creep. You're a creep.
Let me tell you.
You're a creep. I don't want to talk to this guy.
Let's move on to Savannah, Georgia. George, you're on the Republican line. Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Well, let me answer to that before.
Sure.
What standard is he going by? The concept of the right to abortion is founded on the premise of a right to privacy. And they trotted out, allegedly, that he had rented a pornography simply to embrace him. What is this good, open-minded liberal trying to do by bringing up that he rented pornography? That he's a hypocrite because he believes in Christ, that he likes sex? I don't understand. It's to destroy him. And the fact that Ted Kennedy and Joe Biden worked in concert with the mainstream media to get this guy to believe that this is a salient talking point that can be used in perpetuity to destroy Clarence Thomas, again, is why I fight the way I fight.
Here's a Twitter question for you. Does Breitbart think Fox News is not legitimate because they aren't an arm of the Democratic Party?
Is that a double negative? I don't. Can you ask that again? Because the not threw me off.
Show it again. Does Breitbart think Fox News is not legitimate because they aren't an arm of the Democratic Party?
Well, of course, of course. Right now, according to Josh Gerstein in Politico, the article in which they were talking about the White House's strategy to go after Fox News was based upon the fact that they covered the ACORN story. Is ACORN a legitimate story, or is this opinion-based journalism? This isn't Hannity, this isn't Beck, this isn't O'Reilly's opinions. This is the information that was found on the videos. Is it a legitimate story? Well, before the mainstream media even covered the story, it existed in the under media that I am a part of, the new media. And Al Franken voted to defund ACORN. So he thought it was a legitimate enough story that he voted to defund it. And so right now, when we offer up the 6th video, based upon the premise that after all of the videos, ACORN lied every step of the way, and the media perpetuated those lies every step of the way, for the media to continue to take ACORN's line on their lies, built upon the premise, the false premise, that Hannah and James were kicked out of Philadelphia, for us to hold a press conference to prove the media wrong, to prove Media Matters wrong, to prove ACORN wrong, that yet again they got hit. That is a legitimate news story. But what happened last night? It wasn't on ABC, it wasn't on CBS, it wasn't on NBC, it wasn't in the New York Times that I know of, it certainly wasn't on the front of the paper. By going after Fox News and isolating that ACORN was not a legitimate news story, the media took the cue of the media. The White House is the city editor right now for this country, and it's disgusting. And thank God for Helen Thomas and The Nation magazine to be a little bit creeped out by this.
Let me go to George now. Savannah, Georgia, Republican. Good morning.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I've waited, and I appreciate the man there. But I did want to say this. If the media was really all that biased, I just got a couple of comments to make. I think we really have a conservative media because you look at it, Glenn Beck and Ann Coulter get on covers of national magazine like Time and Newsweek, but the real left which is like Noam Chomsky, who's an absolute genius. He's never been on any kind of
Did he
national
just come on the
magazine.
Republican line?
Let me
So
go
he
ahead
used
and
the
finish
false
what I'm
premise
gonna
of
say.
being a
Let me finish what I'm
Republican
gonna
in
say.
order to get into
Anita
this
Hill, are you saying
into
that
this
Anita Hill
conversation.
didn't tell the
Let
truth
him
about Clarence
just finish up
Thomas?
real
Why?
quick.
He came in under the false premise that he's a Republican and he praises Noam Chomsky.
Caller, quick response,
That's
and then we'll
an
move on.
illegitimate means of
but
getting
party
into this
loyalty,
conversation.
we still have Rockefeller Republicans, and I tell you one thing: if Anita Hill was telling the truth, then all this stuff about Clarence Thomas is true. He shouldn't be on the Supreme Court.
Thanks. Mr. Breitbart, anything you want to say there?
You can ask me the same question afterwards. I just don't want to grant him the ability to. This is what the left has been doing for years on AM talk radio, is calling under the false premise, getting talking points. Rush Limbaugh effectively calls them seminar callers. You know, can't you be honest about who you are? I'm being honest here about who I am. I mean, you're a fraud.
What's your take on some of the issues out there that we're talking about every day here? Economics, you see this story. New jobless claims rise more than expected to 531,000. Continuing claims drop. There's the big healthcare debate. We're waiting to see how this is going to shape up. What's your perspective on the economy, healthcare, the big issues of the day, at least in the what you might call the mainstream media?
Yeah, I'm a free market guy. I'm a small business kind of guy. I run my business from a basement. It's self-funded. I believe in the ingenuity of the American people to get us out, extricate ourselves from this situation that we find ourselves in, not the federal government. But do I believe in big business? No, I don't believe that big businesses have the American people's interest at heart either. I believe in small businesses in this country. It's the heart of this country, and I believe that they should that their taxes should be lowered in order to instigate more growth.
We have time for a couple more calls. Kansas City, Missouri. Sean is on the line for Democrats. You're on with Mr. Breitbart. Good morning.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Andrews. And I wanted to ask a question on, you say you sit in on the CIA intelligence with the Iran-Contra. Wasn't Oliver North part of the cocaine author of crack? You know, where was your voice then? And two, why you don't say nothing about Halliburton? You know, all the billions of dollars they done stole or what is unaccounted for. Where's your voice there? You know, I don't hear it.
One more conspiracy theory, and we've got it all down to you know, every conspiracy theory there. What about Bechtel? What about, I mean, the far left is very much rooted in fomenting conspiracy theories. The interesting thing about Van Jones as a community organizer, it's interesting to find out what community organizing is. I thought before the election that community organizing was helping, you know, Mrs. McGillicuddy bring in her trash cans, and, you know, instead of going into corporate law, you know, going to the inner city and trying to help people was what it was about. I now, because of ACORN and other stories out there, I now know what community organizing is. It's shaking down companies. It's getting money from Bank of America and other companies. It's about intimidating people. It's fomenting fake AstroTurf rallies in front of Walmart in order to get these companies to acquiesce to the left's, you know, ways. Now, to Van Jones, a community organizer who went to Yale Law School, whose narrative is very similar to Barack Obama. This is an educated man. He's a community organizer. He goes to Oakland, a very poor community in this country, and he becomes a community organizer. What did he organize around? He organized around the concept that Mumia Abu Jamal, the cop killer who killed police officer Daniel Faulkner, that was a conspiracy, that the white man was out to put this intelligent, you know, poetic man in jail. Van Jones is too smart to believe that. He's a cynical man who used conspiracy theories to organize people, to get people to believe. If you could get poor people who are uneducated to believe that the white man is out to get you, then they'll do anything for you. They'll even go to Walmart and they'll protest if they don't even know what they're protesting about.
Caller, our viewer wants some clarification via Twitter. Would you classify yourself as a Republican, Democrat? independent or non-affiliated observer seeking to convey accuracy. He wants a little more.
I definitely consider myself a conservative. It's taken me a long time to figure that out because I was so fearful of what that meant to my social standing where I live in Hollywood. But I basically am. I mean, I'm not a religious conservative. I was bar mitzvahed. I have the tape to prove it, but I'm not the most religious person you're going to meet. But I am sympathetic to the social conservative narrative. But I am very, very much a limited government guy. I am a low taxation. I'm a Reagan conservative, and I have sympathies towards the libertarian side of issues, and I can be persuaded on certain issues of consensual behavior between, two adults. I have a libertine soft spot.
Let's try to squeeze in one more call from Melgie in New York. Go ahead, please. Make it brief if you can.
Yes, Mr. Brightman, I'm sorry that you have, that I feel that you have, with all the intelligence. And let me explain something to you.
Caller, need you to be brief, though.
Education does not mean intelligence. And it breaks my heart to see that you are compromising yourself and choosing sides. Where there is righteousness, there is peace. May God Almighty forgive you.
Final thought, briefly. We've got to go to the House.
God bless you. I mean,